Hi everyone, my name is Manu ALBEROLA. I am a producer and a creative director working at Troubelmakers. Troubelmakers is a music and sound production studio. We are located in Montreal, and the sandbox we play in consists of multimedia, immersive, interactive experiences. We focus on the musical artistic approaches as well as the technological innovations that are guided by music and sound. I'm here today to share with you my thoughts on how sound can give depth to immersive content. And right off the bat, I kept being annoyed at the same word as I was preparing. It's the word content. And it's something that I've been dealing with ever since I've started working in this industry. For some reason, I feel like it's slightly reductive because to me, in a broader sense, whether you're preparing a product activation for a client, a VR experience for a brand, or a museum exhibition, what we're doing is we are telling a story. So really, we are immersive storytellers. Uh, this made me fall into a rabbit hole of asking myself, all right, we are immersive storytellers, but what does it mean? What is immersive storytelling? And circling around a couple of definitions, I found this one from Melanie Arrow, and she says, immersive storytelling is a technique that is finding its way into new spaces, such as theaters, games, documentaries, advertising, and journalism. The aim is to give people the feeling of really being there, calling on 3D gaming, virtual, and augmented reality technologies in the process. And I thought, yeah, I think it encapsulates what it means to most of us. There's that technological component that is very important to us being people that attend forum like Stereopsia. But I am much more sensitive to the middle part, which reads, the aim is to give people the feeling of really being there. And it led me to a realization that this is actually true about any good story, regardless of the format, regardless of how sound is used, regardless of how technology is incorporated into the story. Very quick example of this realization, Radiolab. It's a podcast. It's audio essentially, but uh, you can't help but get emotional when there's a social injustice being described with elevating music and savvy sound design. Stepping out of the movie theater, having seen Dunkirk, I was tensed. My hands were sweaty. I was tired, being immersed in events that occurred during World War II. More recently, Nick Cave with Idiot Prayer, which is an album and an accompanying video. When you think about it, it's a man and his piano in an empty room, yet every time I listen to it, I am immersed two ways actually. I am right there in that hall, that reverberating echo hall with him, but I'm also in the songs, in the stories that he tells me in his songs. And to push it to the extreme, I was 20 years old when I read The Shadow of the Wind, and I felt like I was walking the streets of Barcelona and I had never been there. So those are very simple examples. And what it means is start with a good story to begin with and make it better with, I'm going to use the recipe metaphor, with the ingredients that are on the table. And those ingredients can be writing techniques, casting or acting, choices of CGI, motion design, special effects, scenography, and in my case, audio. Use those ingredients, but accept that it doesn't mean using them all the time equally, nor all the time at once. So when it comes to being specific about audio, what I thought I would do is, through a few examples, give you ways of how you can use this ingredient. My first example is use music as a lead character. We've heard this before coming from the movie industry. And I'm going to use a shameless plug, a show that we did with Moment Factory called Aura, which was presented at La Basilique Notre-Dame in Montreal. For this project, we actually wrote the entire score before there was projections onto the walls of the basilica. So really, the music became the main protagonist of the story. And Moment Factory used very wisely the music to cement the visual emotional curve. And in layman's term, music is the timeline. That's the evolution of the show. And while we're talking about Aura, there is a wow moment towards the end where you've been seated and you're watching the show. It's happening in front of you. All the mapping show is in front of you. And at one point, the organ starts to play in real time. We programmed it so that every show it plays in real time without a player. But the organ is behind you on a mezzanine. You never actually see it being lit up, but you're giving the visitor an extra dimension, an immersive world that doesn't have to be 360 visual. With the sound coming from the rear, all of a sudden he has a new sound perspective. And this brings me to my second example, using perspective. Audio perspective is king in terms of putting you somewhere and moving you in different places of your story. A great example of that is Orchestra VR from the LA Philharmonic. That's 4 years old, 2016. I remember watching it the first few times and I was amazed by it. But I kept thinking, when the camera point of view changes place, surely it sounds different. Surely it sounds different when you're behind the conductor and when you're in the viola section, or when you're all the way in the back of the Walt Disney Concert Hall and you have maybe the echo hitting you a little bit more. Using digital tools, the software that exists to create that sound perspective will give you a lot of mileage in terms of immersive depth. And while we're on the subject of perspective, sometimes, however, less is more. We created an installation this summer, very simple, 5 modules placed in a circle. Prior to the installation, we recorded 3 bands, close miking techniques, filmed them very, very close. Once you're inside the installation, if you get close to a module, you're going to see close shots of the drummer, and all you're going to hear is the drummer. If you move to the other module, all of a sudden the images of a bassist playing, and what you hear is the bass being played to you, and so on and so forth. But if you place yourself in the middle, all of a sudden you get an immersive 5-channel mixing of the song all together. And then you are handing the interaction to the user. He decides where he positions himself, and this will influence how he hears the actual music. So those are 3 examples. There are countless other examples, other ways of using audio to heighten the experience of immersive stories. And I think in the end, what's important is from now on, we should always consider audio not so much as a post-production tool, but it's now a production tool. As soon as you have that great story, involve your audio collaborator. Sit down with him. He's going to come up with new ideas, new ways to tell your stories, to use some technologies here, maybe less so here, and give you new angles on how to express that idea. And I think that's the fundamental of how sound can add depth to immersive content, for a lack of a better word. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks to Stereopsia, for inviting me and allowing me to share these thoughts. Thank you.